Hi, folks. Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about, it's a well-known subject, media bias when reporting mixed race crimes, white on black, black on white, that sort of thing, black on Hispanic, whatever, anybody on Jewish, and so on. They seem to be, well, not seem to be, they are incredibly selective. Now, where you've got small sort of community-owned local newspapers and small sort of radio and media stations in the hinterland of the US or anywhere for that matter, media outlets that are not owned by the big globalist media mega corporations, or that are not funded by government money. Those media outlets do report the crimes. So if you go to some of these, you can't look at them all, but I just picked a random selection of these small media outlets, and they do report crimes, and you can see quite clearly, and from the local court hearing listings, that there's a vast amount of crime occurring, black shootouts in black areas, and also black on white crime, or black on Hispanic crime. But the ratio of, given that in the United States, black people constitute 12 or 13% of the total population, but in terms of violent crime, make up nearly 2/3 of the perpetrators. It seems like an astonishing figure, and this is borne out by FBI statistics, which you'd suggest the FBI is under pressure to tone that down and make white people look far more evil. But even in spite of this, the narrative coming out of the globalist controlled politicians and the globalist media is the biggest threat to the Western world is white supremacy. Now, I can't think of any crime that's occurred in the last 10 years that you could sort of sheet home to a white supremacist. But it depends on your definition of white supremacy. The globalization project, for example, is very disadvantageous to 99.5% of white people. So given they're the least likely to appreciate the globalist project, what the globalists have done is that anyone that disagrees with the globalist project, which will be not exclusively but primarily white people, will call them white supremacist, fascist Nazis. Okay, job done. Let's go on with destroying the Western world. And that's pretty much where they're going. Those least that will benefit the least from globalization will be accused of being, which is white people will be just accused of being Nazis and white supremacists. Now, the end result is that black people or anyone else living in the West, other than a recent arrival from a dirt poor third world shithole, but anyone who's currently in the West or is, where their family's been for more than a generation, is going to be a lot worse off due to globalization. There'll be a tiny elite, one in every 250 or something like that, who will do quite well out of it. But many of those will be white. But as for the rest, then no, it's going to be a disaster. So there's very much a propaganda and power control need to say, well, there's nothing we can do it. These people are going to be badly off, and they're starting to realize it. So somehow we've got to shut them down and make sure that they receive no sympathy and support from any other group. So we'll call them white supremacists, we'll call them Nazis, we'll call them fascists, we'll call them Hitler, and that'll finish them off. So, but just having a look around, if you look at the national newspapers or the national media outlets generally, they steer well clear of any crimes committed by black people. They tone that down. It undergoes an ideological reduction process where they effectively just vanish it from the from the public discourse, which is the exact opposite of if a white person does it. Now, given that for every one time a white person has is involved in some way, be it accidentally or otherwise, in killing or harming a black person, it's for every one of those instances, there are 10 instances where a black person harms a white person. So you'd think the media would just follow that sort of statistic and say, look how terrible this is. But they don't. Instead, they focus heavily on where the white person's involved. And if they do mention the black crime on the white person at all, or the Jewish person, or the Hispanic person, or whatever it is, then it's mentioned in passing. There's not always, rarely, a photograph of the black culprit or perpetrator. There's very little column inches of, it's not ginned up of, and he's a known black supremacist, a black Nazi. There's none of that. It's very toned down. If anything, the reverse is the case, where there'll be a photograph of the black man when he was a kid, 12 years old, smiling sweetly into the camera or something like that. They'll do that sort of thing. So they'll really present the person, the black perpetrator, in the most flattering light they possibly can. Or if there were any say multiple arrests or multiple convictions or something, they'll write this off to just being racist police doing it to an oppressed black person. Whereas the white person will be cut no such slack. They're damn fucking fascist, fucking Nazi, white supremacists, they're genocidal maniacs, and so they'll treat it very differently. But as I trawled around these small media outlets, small town rags, that type of stuff, it is actually reported there. It's just not picked up by either the regional, any large audience media outlet won't touch it, and but it is being reported. And it staggers me that you can have 18, 20 people either killed or seriously injured in gun battle shootouts in Chicago in just one weekend. And that's not actually a big deal for that town. In fact, numbers like that can be 40 or 50 at times. Now, it's mainly, and rarely otherwise, but it's mainly black people shooting each other. And when they talk about it in the media, and there were 20 people injured in shootouts in Chicago, that's it. They don't say, and by the way, all these people were black, or they're inner city black drug gangs or something. They don't mention that. So you could be mistaken. Then they'll go straight to a story about white supremacy. So you could draw the conclusion, well, that 20 people that got shot in Chicago must be those white supremacist, fascist Nazis that we all know are everywhere, just rando shooting black people. But it's not that at all. It's black people shooting each other. Now, I was in Philadelphia some years ago, and near the downtown, not far from what that William Penn's statue on top of the building there, wasn't far from that. And it was just at a coffee shop, and I was a very good coffee shop, actually, this one. I was just ordered my coffee and was waiting for it, and the guy there said, that accent, is it from Australia? And so, well, yes, and so it was a colder day. There was snow outside, but our coffees both arrived at kind of the same time. So we were just chatting, exchanging pleasantries, and he's like some sort of a social worker come parole officer or something like that, and white guy. And I mentioned this too because there'd been a few shootings in Philadelphia, and I think it was up towards Norristown or somewhere up that way. And he mentioned that, or I asked him, so why is it that there seem to be so many shootings in these black areas, and why are there not more arrests? Why even then I noticed that it was treated as just oh well, who cares? It's kind of the natural thing in those areas. And so I asked him about it, the shootings, and he came back with a few things that sort of surprised me. He said, well, there's in these black communities, they view having a gun and having no qualms about using it, it means you get respect from the other black people in the community, and everybody wants to have respect. So having a gun is like a means to get respect, and you can get it immediately. If you've got a gun, then from that moment on, you're getting respect. Whereas if you you want to get respect for having a PhD, then it's going to take you 7 or 8 years to get it of hard work. And people accuse you of being an Uncle Tom anyway, like a sellout to the white folks. So why not just go the quickest route to the quickest path to getting respect to the folks around you is get a gun and wave it around. So the idea of the black people shooting each other, he said, well, the black community just won't cooperate with the police. Witnesses won't. They can be a million witnesses to the shooting, but no one's going to help the police or give information that may lead to an arrest or to help the police with any of their inquiries. So the police kind of don't bother. They know this, and so they sort of don't bother. And so the attitude, it's a de facto, it's not a policy attitude, rather de facto, and rather has occurred almost organically, is that as long as the black gangs are shooting each other, it kind of nobody really cares. Every now and again, a stray bullet will go along and they'll hit some kid who's a bystander or somebody down the street. That's a bit of a problem. But otherwise, they don't really care. And this certainly seems to be the case, as best I can see it, in Chicago, where as long as the blacks are shooting each other, no one gives a stuff. Now, I would have thought that, well, isn't any murder like a murder is a murder? Shouldn't the police make the proper inquiries? But the argument is, from Philadelphia at least, that the black community simply won't cooperate with the police, be it a black police officer or anything else. They just won't cooperate, and they see that the shootings on the street are just people trying to get respect, and those who've been disrespected have a genuine grievance, and they should have the right to shoot and kill other people that disrespect them, and so on. So they have a different, street tribal value system than the white community do, and so they don't necessarily see it's a problem. Sure, they don't like the shooting, and they don't like it if their kids get hurt or something. There's that, but otherwise it's background noise really to their daily existence, and so no one really cares. So coming back to the where black people attacking, killing, and whatever white people, including white children. There was a case not that long ago where a mentally disturbed black gentleman killed a white child, and it got a very quick run in the regional news. Wasn't touched by the nationals at all, and then it was gone. The only follow-up story came from the local town or village, newspaper, but otherwise that was it. Now, just contrast this with whether it be George Floyd or anyone else, but contrast this with, say, the Jordan Neely episode in the New York subway a little while ago. Now, this has been ginned up by the media as they've desperately tried to turn it into a white supremacist story. And done jumped every somersault and done every backflip and mental gymnastics on an Olympic level to try and gin it up into a story of white supremacy and Nazis and the lengths they've gone to, showing photographs of the black gentleman, Mr. Neely, showing photographs of him when he was a kid. I don't know, I think it was some school play where he's doing a Michael Jackson impersonation or something, and trying to, he's just a guy on the subway just doing a Michael Jackson impersonation. He was a sweet kid, and along came this fucking white supremacist, fucking Nazi, and just killed him for no reason. It was racism or fascist. So nothing, of course, could be further from the truth. But this doesn't matter, and the narrative is pushed relentlessly of evil white people, victim black people, and the media ignores and misrepresents and fails to report any story that makes black people look bad in terms of the amount of attacks they do on white people or other groups, Jews or whatever, Asians, it doesn't matter. And this is obviously a policy, globalization policy decision, because it makes, these things sort of bring into question globalization and the role of the Black community in the society as we go forward here. The globalists are trying to usher in, type of feudal society. And so this is something that we need to come to grips with. Why is the media doing this? And why are we not holding them to account for what is a blatant and purposeful misrepresentation of the news and the actuality on the ground? You've been a Tacitus today. You're a Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.